Throw away for obvious reasons and buckle up because it's a long one. Let me give you some backstory. I met my best friend 6 years ago, and we've been inseparable ever since. Shortly after us meeting, she started dating her now husband. And naturally, with us spending so much time together, we all eventually became very close friends. About 2 years ago or so, he started referring to me as his sister, telling my best friend and me that I was like the sister he never had, to which, honestly, at the time, I agreed, and for a while it was just that. Eventually, I started feeling as though he uses the title to justify how close we are and to push the boundaries of our friendship, and this sibling label just feels like a way to make our closeness appear more innocent to others. I've been on to the fact that he tends to walk the line of how friendly he can be with me, and while I've maintained our close and playful friendship, I've always been aware and cautious that he might be pushing his boundaries. His wife, my best friend, has seen and known about our closeness, but she's never shown any discomfort or concern, which has been confusing to me because I've definitely felt that he's sometimes overstepped in front of her, and she has never said anything. Let me give a few examples in chronological order, I think, starting about 3 years ago. He got blackout drunk at a get-together once and started throwing up outside. My best friend asked me to watch him because she doesn't handle puke well, so I stayed with him, and after a bit, he started trying to hold my hand. And despite me pulling away, he kept trying after a few seconds. I told myself that he was so drunk he must have thought I was my best friend and confused us, but something about it felt off. The next day he told us he had blacked out and didn't remember a thing, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt and never mentioned anything. But a few weeks later, he brought up something he told me that day while we were outside, something that he wouldn't have remembered telling me if he'd actually been blacked out. I don't remember the context of this situation, but one day at their house there was nowhere to sit, and he pat his lap and motioned for me to sit on his lap. His wife was sitting right next to him and either didn't see or didn't think it was weird, I guess. Another time, my best friend and I went out for happy hour and got drunk, and he had to pick us up. Once we got home, I was laying on the couch with my eyes closed, and he came and sat next to me and started talking to me. I honestly don't remember what he said, but I remember him scoot closer to me until his thigh was touching my arm, and I remember telling him he needed to scoot over before his wife came and thought something was up. He didn't end up moving, and she walked out and asked what was going on, and he said he was just checking on me. Her and I went back to the room, and she asked me something along the lines of, was he being inappropriate? And I told her no because I honestly didn't know what to think. Was he? Was that enough to be considered inappropriate? He didn't seem to be trying to hide it at all, which made me think I was maybe thinking too deep into it. Anyway, that was never brought up either. Another time I was at their house and went to go say hi to him with a hug. My best friend was in their room, and he hugged me, and despite me trying to pull away twice, he didn't let go until he heard the bedroom door open. The hug was maybe 7 or so seconds long, which we never do. Recently we were all out together, and I looked up at him and said something, and he looked me in the eyes and said, "Ugh, those eyes," and just stared into my soul, literally, as we were standing directly next to his wife. She again either didn't notice or didn't think it was weird. Also, a few months ago, he grabbed my phone without me noticing and cleared out all of my apps. I hadn't noticed that he even knew my password, and when I asked him how long he'd known it, he told me a few years. This made me so uncomfortable, I changed the password right away because I couldn't stop imagining him purposely going through it and finding my nudes or something, which I keep in my hidden folder. But if he has my password, what difference does it make? A few weeks later, he noticed I had changed it, and though he didn't directly say anything, I caught the vibe that he wasn't happy about it.
So after all these things, and a few I'm probably forgetting, his mental health starts visibly declining. Especially when he's around me, he gets quiet and moody. He starts hinting that he's dealing with something but won't say what it is. And a few months ago, he started slowly hinting that the thing is really serious, and he can't trust anyone with the information. At this point, I'm mentally preparing myself for a confession of love. Despite everything, I didn't want to believe it. No one ever expects to find themselves in a situation like this. And then a couple of days ago, it happened. Kind of. He told me flat out that he recently realized that he has something called erotomania, and that he wanted to clarify that he has never cheated on his wife, and that he loves her very much, but it's just something that is consuming him, and he doesn't know how to handle it on his own anymore. He said it's all he thinks about, and that he has a serious obsession. Definition for those of you who don't know what it is, because I sure didn't. Erotomania is a rare psychotic disorder and subtype of delusional disorder that causes people to have delusions that someone else is in love with them. The person believed to be in love is usually someone of higher social or financial status, like a celebrity, boss, or president, who is out of reach or already in a relationship. Also, for context, this is the disorder that Joe Goldberg from You also suffers from. I mention that because he told me that he feels a connection to Joe in a non-crazy way. I also want to mention that up until this point, he hasn't straight up told me that this has anything to do with me. But today, while we were texting, he started telling me about his You. He said his You had become his obsession, and he didn't know if he was delusional or if it was mutual. After he went into detail about why he was so obsessed with his You, it became undeniable that I am the one he's referring to, though neither of us has called it out. At the end of the conversation, he asked what I would do if I were him, and I told him to do some deep self-reflecting about what he wants in life, because carrying on like this isn't fair to him or especially his wife, and that he needs to be proactive about seeking professional help. And that's where he cut the conversation. This confession has obviously put me in a very difficult situation. I'm trying to figure out the best way to approach it. He's my friend, so I want to be supportive without encouraging his delusions, but I really don't know where to go from here. It's obvious that he needs professional help, but he's not currently ready to seek therapy, but I'll continue to suggest it. But where does that leave me and my best friend? I feel like my brain hasn't processed any of this yet. I feel kind of numb and void of feelings. How would she feel if she found out? How do I tell her, your husband has become obsessed with me? Should I even tell her? Should I make him tell her? My hope is that he will see a professional and they will help him deal with the situation how they best see fit. But in the meantime, literally, what the hell?
Too long didn't read. I've been friends with my best friend for 6 years and with her husband for around 3 years. He and I have a pretty close and playful relationship. He often refers to me as his sister, which I felt he uses to justify how close we are and to push the boundaries of our friendship. This sibling label has sometimes felt like a way to make our closeness appear more innocent to others. I've been onto the fact that he tends to walk the line of how friendly he can be with me, and while I've maintained our playful friendship, I've become more mindful that he might be pushing his boundaries. His wife, my best friend, sees and knows about our closeness, but she's never shown any discomfort or concern, which has been confusing to me because I've definitely felt that he's overstepped in front of her. Recently, he confessed to me that he has erotomania, and that I am the focus of his obsession. This confession has put me in a really difficult situation. He is my friend, so I want to be supportive without encouraging his delusions, but I really don't know where to go from here. It's obvious that he needs professional help, but he's not currently ready to seek therapy, but I'll continue to suggest it. But where does that leave me and my best friend? I feel like my brain hasn't processed any of this. I feel kind of numb and void of feelings. How would she feel if she found out? How do I tell her, your husband has become obsessed with me? Should I even tell her? Should I make him tell her? My hope is that he will see a professional and they will help him deal with the situation how they best see fit. But in the meantime, literally, what the hell? So it's been a couple of days now, and after speaking to my parents, husband, and therapist about this, it's finally sunk in. When I initially wrote this post, I was in shock and denial, and was trying every which way to rationalize this in a way that would ultimately hurt everyone less. Since then, I've realized that my best friend and I have both fallen victim to his manipulation and emotional mind games. I should have trusted my gut every time it told me something was off, but he knew that I would empathize with him, and he played his cards in a way that would have me questioning my own reality. A friend of mine told me, intentions don't always matter, and that sometimes we need to take people's actions for what they are. At the end of the day, regardless if I'm struggling to accept if this was all played out intentionally with malice, or if it's something he just let get out of hand, it was not my responsibility to keep his feelings in check for him. He should have sought out professional help long ago, like I've always suggested to him, and he should have done everything he could to squash the feelings he had towards me, rather than to nurture them with fantasies about us being together someday and letting it get to the point of becoming a dangerous obsession. My therapist is now seriously concerned for mine and my best friend's safety. Although it's become pretty clear to us all that this delusional disorder is a hoax, that doesn't take away from the fact that he's taken this obsession to a dangerous level, and he does still seem to be wrapped up in this illusion that somehow we can be together and make it work with his wife. I've sent him a long message telling him I'm no longer going to be a pawn in his fantasies and that he needs to come clean to his wife about everything he's told me and whatever else I may not know about. And I've let her know that he has something to say to her and that I'll be here for her for whatever she may need going forward, in whichever way makes her most comfortable. For everyone who was kind and understanding of this sensitive situation, I thank you greatly for your grace and understanding towards me while I processed this mess. And to everyone else who was quick to say that it was obvious, and to even blame me or say I'm deserving of losing my friend, I want to say that, of course, it's obvious to everyone reading this when everything has been laid out for you. But don't be so dense as to forget that this is a real-life situation that has taken place in the span of many years with real human beings, complex lives, and deep feelings involved. There are years of context you know nothing about. Blaming me for not seeing it is blaming a victim of emotional manipulation for not realizing they were being toyed with. I'm grateful that I have the emotional intelligence and confidence to know that his actions are not a reflection on me as a person or as a friend, and to not let those comments get in my head. I hope those of you can hopefully learn from this and use this as a reminder that you are just bystanders on the internet and you don't have all the facts, and your comments can have big impacts on real people going through real situations. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you for taking the time to read this.